Pete, can you come forward wherever you are?
Pete, where are you? Here he comes. Pete, come on over.
Oh, Cindy, are you official?
Who's that? What?
I'm going to tell my short, maybe, version of how I saw this all coming down. And then these two might have something else to say. I'm pretty sure this one will have a lot to say. You can feel free to come and go whenever you need. But after you got your book, and you might want to stay after he tells you a secret thing anyways. So, how long ago was, oh, no, wait, no. So what some of you who don't know Tony don't know about his history is that he's a world famous speed painter. Then
I got sober and I said, slow down.
So we started this project, we thought, for the Pink Flamingo Tour in 2017. No, 18, okay. 18. And we got a jump start of about 6 or 8 weeks, and it was clearly not going to be done, so he was all nervous, and I said, no, we're artists at work during tour. Perfect, go. Okay, so now, whatever, I don't know the date.
May 1st. May 1st.
So, I really did.
February.
And we collaborated on the creative process, which Tony will tell you more about. However, I thought of the brilliant idea to incorporate the three-dimensional component of the Lizard Licks art, which you know I do, most of you know I do, right? Available at Beach Bazaar 7 days a week. Low, fair prices and fair trade products. Okay. So then, just by accident, Miss Marcella here invited us all to the boat parade, wherever she is. And Mr. Pete was there, Mr. Tony was there, and Tony said, hey, I was telling Pete about the mural, can you show him a picture, which I had here. It happened to be a night picture, and I believe it's accurate. I've been told that there was a little writer's block going on with this book some of you have here that's primarily focused on Gulfport themes, and apparently this photograph knocked out the writer's block, and here we have a cover, which we just realized we've handed out the book a little premature, so we need to get this going. Big problem. There will be further ado, which is Tony to say any words before the mural comes down, because you can say as much as you want after it comes down.
I don't know, it's so sweet. You guys are all here. My heart's ready to explode. My head's going to explode. I hope we keep it. I get it on camera. I think it's going to be dramatic. I'm very happy to have you all here. Thank you so much.
Okay, can we all help with a countdown starting with 5? And it would go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Drum roll.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Combination of an art gallery and a circus, and I just don't know what to, but I'm so happy, and man, I really did spend a year doing this, but it was okay because today I love to paint. I haven't painted in 20 years, so I had to remember how to do everything. All those paintings on those presentations, they're like 20, 30 years old, so I've been doing computer art and music, but but I've been obsessing over this for 2 weeks, so I'm gonna be nice to you. I keep it short, but the title, Scott's got. What's the title? Is that? I'm like, oh my God. Okay, The Secret Life of the Jungle. And my subconscious is a lot smarter than me and funnier, and so I thought, okay, there's a title. Then like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, oh crap, I have experience with jungles. I lived in Sumatra and Nigeria, and and then of course, I've been a follower of Carl Jung, the psychology of like the subconscious mind. I've been into that since my 20s. And so the secret jungle is the subconscious mind. And it's got scary things in there, tigers that will attack you, and snakes, but it's also got beautiful, things. And of course, if you happen to be spiritual, I think that's where spirituality comes from, is the, subconscious mind. So, and But the cool thing about this was, you know, it was, since it's kind of public, this is not my studio, you know. Scott wouldn't let me have a little bed here.
Not true.
Could have cut the time in half.
But so people will help me, like Cindy said, oh, you need something over here, you know, because it's too blocky, you know, I tend to be too symmetrical. So put that in for Cindy, and then...
Thank you, Tony.
And then Scott wanted the cactuses, and then he said, well, I love these cactus flowers. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. And they're all like super complicated. So, you know, but then I loved it. And he said, you gotta have the prickers. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. No, you need this. So the prickers, and then what else? Oh, these things, these are, oh, I forgot. Probably the first important thing is that these images, these elements are from Henry Rousseau, the French painter. And he was famous for his jungle paintings. And, you know, when I started the project, I go, I don't want to spend time creating something of my own. Let's just rip off Rousseau.
Good job.
Is this with glow-in-the-dark paint?
I'm sorry?
Is that glow-in-the-dark paint?
No. I saw the line, I glow in the dark. No, the image of my book is so strange because it was a nighttime photo, and then Pete, who's got his whole aesthetic of his own, he darkened it and upped the contrast. So that kind of looks like the Secret of the Jungle, Secret Life of the Jungle in hell. You know, my opinion. But, I mean, I love it. So just so Rousseau did these jungle, you know, paintings. He had never been to Africa, so he made shit up. So these shapes here, they're in several of his jungle paintings, and I was fascinated with them. And they're just in the background, like, and I don't know what the hell they are, but I love them. And especially, see, like, over here, you got these things coming up, and they're so cool because they look natural, but they also look like totems.
Yeah,
And
totally.
they also look, then Pete said, well, maybe this couple, he said, these are couples, and this couple has died, and so this is their spiritual, you know, sort of, I said, who knows, I don't know. Again, it's all subconscious, you know, I don't plan this stuff, I don't, and then the last thing is, Scott he likes to sit under the umbrella by the pool. He goes, I can't see the lines on the haystacks. Give me some lines. I'm like, so I go, okay, well, red is the most recognizable color, so I'm putting red in there. And then I go, wait a minute, lava, you know. So is it lava coming? So I have no idea what that means. But it's a really cool image, you know, that plant life, you know, life force.
And you've got
in the
Saturn over there.
yeah. Well, you know, just that it's so, the life force is so powerful, you know.
Well, we had a lot of debate on the planet. Yeah, but we finally worked it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's me, you know, that's my kind of weirdness. And these are leaf shapes, but I made them disappearing, you know, like Dolly does a lot of negative space stuff, and I just like stuff sort of disappearing into air. So I disappeared these, and then the planet, that's Earth, Saturn, Mars, and Venus. So, oh, and these are flames, but they're plant flames. I can't explain that either.
Do we want to take questions for the audience?
Oh, sure, okay. Anybody got questions?
Does it glow in the dark?
No, they don't. And I'm sober. I'm completely sober.
And Tony has other talents too. He's a really good musician, multi-instrumentalist. And as a matter of fact, for any of you all here who haven't been to lately or don't know about the open mic on Thursday nights at Mid-Peninsula, which is a carbon copy of what we started at Manja Gourmet a long time ago, it is over there now. And four of the musicians, the key band, is here. Johnny 11, Tony Treadway, Bud Good, and that Stone used to come. And then all a bunch of fans are here.
Yeah.
But so now we haven't seen all of you there on Thursday night from 6 to 9.
Yes, yeah.
I'm done. And then, so now, segue
Yeah.
friends for coming out for this event. And thank you, Scott, for hosting this magical place. I was in kind of a shitty place for a few years after I retired, going from room to room in our tight little condo in Town Shores. At first it reminded me of what I call the geriatric ghetto, and what am I doing here? This is where I dropped anchor. These are pretty brutal looking buildings. This looks like some, you know, World War II hospital in the Philippines, you know. It's not Art Nouveau architecture, is it? Or Art Deco, where I lived in Miami. You know, I missed my students, any adrenaline and all of that. And I did have a success with a documentary, and I did the Hollywood scene, and I kind of crashed afterwards. And I felt kind of down till Christmas, and that boat parade with the Coast Guard and that lovely lady there, and Scott. And I was actually sitting, I sat next to a couple, although I wasn't with them, because I didn't want people to think I'm alone. Diane, what were you doing? Probably on the computer. Anyway, I looked at this, and it was actually, if you look at the back cover, it was the back cover, really, not the front cover, but the back cover, and it was all in color, and I thought, I really believed that the artist was part of the work. Doesn't it look that way? And what it said to me is that he is desperately trying to pry open his magical world to be part of it. And I've written many things, and I go through separation anxiety. I finish a novel, and I mourn my characters. One time I finished a novel, and my son comes home from high school, and I have, I don't know, Mozart playing the Requiem. I'm drinking red wine, and my son, who was at the time maybe 15, said, as he comes to the door, "Dad, why don't you just cut your wrist?" Because I had tears flowing down. I couldn't let go of my character, and it was painful to start another project, knowing I had to let it go. And I realized, as I saw Tony Treadway treading his way and trying to me it looked like he was trying to enter the damn thing. Look at him. And what is he doing? Well, that's what it suggested to me. And when I found out that it's not part of the painting, I said, well, it's a shame. These things are. But you know what? He is really metaphorically and spiritually part of it. And that's what opening at Town Shores is all about. Opening to being, or opening to the presence, to the now, and looking at the smaller detail of life, because I've never done that. My life has been a roller coaster of ego, you know, narcissistic, professorial, whatever they do. I had the whole elbow patch, the tweed suit. Laid it off. I was worshipped till the grades were out. Realized that there's so much joy and happiness in this magical world, and in Town Shores and my neighbors. So let me, if I may I read a poem now, because I could go on and I'll never end. I want to thank Gianna Russo, the publisher of Yellow Jacket Press, who's going to be retiring the press. This is the last one. I'm so glad I got in. Such a shame. I would like to pay tribute to her now. Gianna, where are you? She put in 13 years on behalf of the poets. Let's give her a hand. The love of the poetry in the state of Florida. Quality books. Thank you, Gianna.
I wanted to say that one of our initiatives was to publish as many of the poets laureates in Florida as we could. And Pete is our 7th poets laureates in Florida, so we're so happy we got a chance.
You mean I'm not the only one? Okay.
Oh well.
Kathy Celestri once said in an article that Tampa Bay is gutted with poet laureates. I love that word, gutted. I also want to thank Tony Treadway, sharing with me his inspirational mural, and Scott Linde for giving me permission to use his photographs, which I've done here. Susan Gore Vincent Spina. Vincent, where are you? He read it and gave me suggestions. Thank you, Vincent, great poet. Jillian Reed, no está aquí, and my wife Diane Marlene for reading it, giving me ideas, always encouraging. And Miami poet Lenny De La Roca and New York poet, New York City Paul Sohar for their generous recommendations, and they're very nice. In fact, Sohar says, I love to be there when Poet Laureate recites, and I'm sure he does to packed audiences in his hometown and state. It looks true now. I mean, the garden is packed to me. It's the most I ever had, by the way. I'm overcome. Would like to read the poem, though, where this mural comes in as an inspiration. I'm by the pool a lot. Diane doesn't like the water. I'm rather alone sometimes, and but I learned that it's good to be alone because then I get into a state called stillness. And with stillness, I can be open to a state. I can open my eyes and see life through a different window. So this may sound a bit depressing in the beginning, but you'll see it turn around. I'll only read 2 poems today, because I'm sure you're anxious to get back to your non-alcoholic beverages. I dedicated this book. One more thing that I think is a miracle. My brother and I cannot stand each other. Oil and water. Big problem. My mother, actually stayed with my mother, wouldn't move out. We stayed at home till 52 and all of that, but that's not the issue. He thinks I sold out because I married an American girl and I diluted my 1,000-year-old Hungarian genes. Turns out after DNA test, I'm mostly Thracian, whatever that is. Which is Bulgarian, Greek, and God knows what else. Anyway, I worked days and days on my photo for my bio. I wanted to look like a Viking, like on those fake pictures over there. I'm just a little guy. Anyway, she said she wanted a child's picture. I said, what? A child's picture? After I, reduced all my pores and everything. Don't have that many because we come from the old world. We're refugees. We're running from the Russians, dodged bullets, the whole bit escaped through the minefields of no man's land. Found this picture, though, which is clear. Others are blurry. I can barely make out my eyeballs, but we are so loving here. And I look at him, he seems like such a tender, loving kid. So, I had a different way of thinking about him. So I was opening that way too, and I actually ended up dedicating the book to him and recasting the poem and revising, driving Gianna crazy. By the way, those things you see around there in little capsules, those mustard containers, they are seeds, they are revisions to this poem. I continued to revise, although it was printed. I don't know, I'm obsessive. Should you find one of those and match it with the poem that it's from and tell me exactly where you would insert it, $60 cash immediately. So go for it. After I'm done, go for the egg hunt. I don't know why that is. I'm in the pool and another phrase, like instead of saying, let me just read the damn thing. Opening at Town Shores. I like the title because it also means real estate opening, You think of Rita Sucks and people like that. Opening at Town Shores. From a drone, the man-made waterways spread out like fingers. A sailboat sputters past humdrum condominiums toward the mouth of Boca Ciega Bay. The old Mercury engine puffs popcorn clouds before it stalls, then a lull. The timing near perfect. The wind billows the sails, full sail ahead. The ageless current that drives the air, that stirs the water and moves the hull toward the sea, moves me and causes my fingers to move across the page. The drone zooms in to showcase the pool jutting into a widening channel. The area deserted except for an old man near the water's edge. He is regally robed and safari helmeted, sitting and riding in the cage of his red-wheeled walker. It is winter in Florida. He interrupts himself to look around, then goes back to taking notes on the secret life of plants. Zoom in closer. I am that man. I shortly will be on this. I get my ankle replaced. I open myself to the silence. There's enough of it here to hear the tiniest of wings, not the drone taking wing from MacDill Air Base, but the sound of a frail creature swollen with pollen, working its wings to hold itself up in empty air, waiting with grace for the fall, the inevitable splash. In that same instant, sun sparklers trawl their nets across the surface to catch this quiet. How could I have missed that something sacred was about to land? Swimmers invade the pool. Instead of swimming, they stand in the water or move a limb. Talk of Tai Chi and yoga and cancer and catheters, a father with Alzheimer's, a neighbor's lingering terminal illness, a death. For a few seconds, all is quiet, maybe too quiet. The air begins to cloy with baby oil and iodine. A professor whose gray hair is braided announces that the spirit must be grounded in light. Another interrupts her with the power of now. Soon all is aflutter, the sounds distant and nonsensical as the chirping of birds. What they leave behind is stillness so maddening. The shrill lawnmower is welcome noise. Stillness, then, is not the absence of sound, and loveliness not always a flower, unless I see it for the first time. How the filaments in the center, thinner than paper, aspire upward, opening, never preening. And when its time has come, a petal does not mind drying, never minds falling. Under the nose of a mechanical owl and barrier fishing lines, two seagulls land in the pool to gulp water, splash one another, and spur the moment to frolic. One flies away, the other looks on, beats the water before it too flies off in the same direction. Stillness is not always the lack of motion. The gulls were not nervous when they gave themselves over to doing what they do. They have flown beyond artificial nets. Even ceremonial doves defy formation without fretting about falling or bettering their last audition. By the way, I changed gulls to sparrow to get along with sorrow. Something I do. On the tiki hut, a palm frond loses its footing, a vertical drop, fans into a swan dive. Still it misses the water and scrapes along the pool's edge, waiting to be airborne again. In the shadow of a sundial, a caterpillar plant comes to life, break-dancing to a sudden gust. The stem shivers and little hairs thin and fall into transparence. In the whitening sun, each floats on air to its own rhythm, to its own stylized, breaking crawl. The motor cuts all that have landed in its path into fine filigree to be airlifted or sprayed into green water and carried out colorless as they reach the sea. They are as much a part of the great current as the dancing seahorse, the feather star, or the rainbow anemone. What was dander in the grass is now a great spirit, more brilliant in its sheerness than the oleander. A pool light comes on underwater. I watch the light show on the bottom. Lace curtains dance in and out of focus. A shudder at the slightest touch. A single breath from me sets off ripples, changing the mesh of an entire universe, each pattern more intricate than the last. As sound waves translate into shape-shifting fractals of light, I keep blowing on the surface, mesmerized by zebras crawling down my leg and changing in color. All I do is to poke a finger in the water and voila, a diaphanous mandala, alive and billowing, starts to gel in the viscous slow motion of a lava lamp, breaking through to overflowing to an underground river leading to an endless, formless, waxen ocean. The submarine light insinuates itself through the murky green of night vision in the very treacle of the sea, and what unfolds before the eye is an undulating, breathing, undiscovered yet familiar opening, forming and reforming in fleeting time-lapse, reefs becoming an island of coral, the runway to my landing. As I tread way into the secret life, Treadway, play on his name. As I tread way into the secret life of the jungle, leaves waver dry and yellow into haystacks of old Europe, changing in shape and color into towers of cola cactuses, teepee huts crowned with the feathers of raised spirits. Images of burial mounds, subterranean pyramids, glowing embers, red and volcanic, burst and spatter every edifice, cornice and porous surface of concrete jungle, with riotous magma of color, with a riotous magma of color. Gecko gargoyles and mechanical owls, a razor-sharp sunburst, appear in day-glow colors to scare off buzzards, unwanted solicitors, and all other bloodsuckers that impersonate time. From the Kenmore to Embassy Row, condominiums raise their sacred totems to the beat of Tokabaka drums. An ancient wind instrument, you can hear it, billows the sails and makes the fingers of water tremble. So it's not Parkinson's. It's something great. Artists, bricklayers, dragon slayers, you people here. Yes, you too. Dog. Sailors and whistling minstrels. Reference to Whistling Tom. There he is. Woman warriors. Cindy, right? Weary from battles for their own secret heart, every grain of sand blown here from distant shores, every brush and crush of petal, filament of flower, sundial and owl, an animate and timeless sacrament of grace. So instead of okay. Yeah. I just read one more of my signature poem, and when I say I am a Gulfportian, shout out with me if you live in Gulfport. Even if you don't, I am a Gulfportian, rain or shine. My hostess told me to wind it up, and I will.
Hostess?
Yeah, but it'll be a blessing. There's a blessing in this gentle breeze of visitant that fans our cheeks. Okay. Yes, I am Gulfportian. I'm one of many parrots squawking by fear of rare rhymes and lost languages. A mere footnote and asterisk, aspiring to be a star, exploding into Gulfport's fireworks on the 4th of July, blossoming and cascading in rainbow fountains over Boca Ciega Bay. I'm young, inspired by the old. I'm old, fired up by the young. They say I'm retired, but I'm refiring full throttle as a volunteer bibliophile. I strum my chords on the lone pavilions, an artist unabashed to hawk his soul on paper and clay or paper mache. I thumb a ride on a red-green nostalgia trolley. I ferry lovers of life in space and time for the magic of art walk on Beach Boulevard. I'm more beard than bard, but bring at my bit to keep the American dream alive. I am Fire Engine 17, wailing my siren against time, blowing my horn and life into lungs to keep another heart beating. I'm Gulfport's finest brothers and sisters in blue, with bright shields shielding all regardless of race, gender, and religion. I'm a seeker of wisdom. I compose my poems on a pier watching the waves crawl in their sills shimmer, floating back in time the old dock that used to be here. I'm a high schooler learning our history in the old museum. A new award-winning library. I use Wi-Fi to trace my genealogy. I'm a law student at Stetson, a senior citizen taking Tai Chi Chuan, one stylized step at a time, to finally burst from my cocoon and tango in the ballroom of our historic casino. I'm a one-act summer play, a Kathy Award-winning director at the Hickman Theater, toasting her cast with a glass of rosé in the iconic Havana Cafe. I'm O'Maddy's of shipwrecking margaritas, Stella's for breakfast for two and four-legged friends, Pia's for pasta and a taste of Italia, the Neptune and the literary afternoon for feasting on Greek salad and a Faustian lecture by Ian O'Hara and Martha Muzzy on Noam Chomsky's bizarre hegemony of survival. I am the Beach Bazaar, a post office and a shop of collectibles. It is here I pay tribute to that poet's society by sending out reams of rhyming, yellowing leaves that die on arrival. So I pick up another book of stamps and I end up buying a Hawaiian shirt, a bird cage, and what? A lava lamp. Almost on I guess I am a die-hard hippie in a tie-dye shirt at the Blueberry Patch, high on Jack Kerouac, Bob Dylan, and Dylan Thomas. I read my poems in hospices to give hope to the sick and dying who dream of lost porches and no tomorrows. I teach them to go gently into their second birth in the setting sun. I am this earth, this 3.8 square mile plot of land where sable and palmetto leaves play with the breeze. They're doing it now. I am the warm green water, sun-kissed pink on the evening bay. I am that humble bunga